entity like the ICC to impose upon ourselves their own type of investigation because our own system is working. It may be not to their liking, but that is not a sufficient ground for them to take over the investigation that our own system is already doing. That's our main point. The OSG is protecting the system that we have here in our country, regardless of who may be the individuals who may be charged in the future. We're not looking at that anymore. What we're protecting is our sovereign right to do our own investigation in our own way within the framework of our own legal and judicial system. That's all that we want to project to the ICC. We're not protecting anyone. That's farthest from our mind.
Okay, then Solgen, I mean, this is way before your time. If this was the argument of the Philippines, why did we join the ICC in the first place? This isn't like the United States. The United States did help craft the ICC, but the irony is they never joined the ICC. I'm correct?
Yes,
right?
That's true.
But the irony is the Philippines joined the ICC. This was the time of former President Noynoy Aquino, and no less than President Marcos Jr., when he was a senator, voted on August 23, 2011 to ratify the Rome Statute. Former President Marcos didn't question during the Senate hearings. He didn't express reservations. In other words, if this is the argument today, then why did we join it in the first place, right? By joining the ICC, we as a country, and not personally, we're saying we recognize that you can investigate crimes against humanity. We recognize your power, your authority, your jurisdiction. Why did we do that in the first place if we're saying now our courts are working? And that was under Aquino's time.
Right, right. Well, we joined the ICC because we believe that crimes of that magnitude should really be investigated and prosecuted by a much bigger tribunal than the local tribunals. Imagine the 4 crimes that the ICC can investigate: genocide, war crimes, war of aggression or crimes of aggression, and crimes against humanity. So, you know, the magnitude of these offenses is so much that probably a local court will not be able to independently and efficiently handle such crimes. No? So in our case, we are saying that the war on drugs does not even fall under any of those 4 categories. We do not consider the war on drugs as a crime against humanity because it's a legitimate law enforcement operation. It's called war on drugs. It's not a war on drug users or a war on drug pushers. No, it's a war against the crime itself. We're trying to address that situation. In the course of that campaign, however, many people died. But
6,185, I think. That's the PNP numbers.
Yes,
okay,
apparently.
Yes, go ahead. But then it's believed to be more than 10,000, but go on.
Yes, what I'm saying is that operation called war on drugs does not fit the concept of a crime against humanity. Okay, so we're disputing that. And that is very well explained in our own submissions to the ICC pretrial chamber. Well, of course, somehow we mentioned it again in the appeals brief of the Philippine government. But that's our main point. So when this whole investigation about the war on drugs turned to be, from the president's point of view, something like there seems to be some political agenda involved in it, and the ICC seems to be somehow cooperating in that, in one sense. The president thought it proper. Mag-withdraw na lang tayo dyan. Let's just withdraw. Okay, because it's not serving its purpose anymore.
But do you believe the ICC has a political agenda?
It's hard to say. Some people would say na it's rather obvious. So that is a possibility. I cannot really, speculate on what's going on in the minds of the justices of the ICC. So, tayo na lang ang mag-judge. Let's judge the ICC by their own actions. As a lawyer, I tend to, give credence and good faith to all that our courts and prosecutors are doing as a lawyer. But I'm not a political leader.
Yeah.
And therefore, my views regarding political motives would be irrelevant. So I leave that to the political leadership.
And I wanted to ask you, I mean, just by speaking to you right now, because I've interviewed you many times on Head Start as Justice Secretary, just to lighten the moment a bit, is it difficult for you? I mean, given that you were Justice Secretary under the time of former President Duterte, where the war on drugs was actually implemented. So I remember all our interviews during that particular time, and you did issue strict statements on, frankly speaking, I remember abuse of enforcers. You said that on Head Start. Yes, there are abuses, and you don't tolerate that. And now you're wearing a different hat.
No, I have always been consistent. When I explained or declared to the public that there were abuses committed during the war on drugs, not only in your program, but even before the UN, Human Rights Council, I made that disclosure. Of course, I knew that it would probably upset some people in the government, but that's a fact. And I had to inform the public of the findings of the Department of Justice during my time. Yun ang nakita namin, so I had to report it. And the President himself also admits that there were abuses during the war on drugs. So, what am I doing now? As Solicitor General, I am telling the people that the government is now investigating those very people who we found to have abused the war on drugs. So I'm just saying that to the ICC, we're already doing it. You don't need to come in because we're already doing it. So there's no inconsistency between what I'm saying now as Solicitor General and what I said before as Justice Secretary. They're actually a continuation of each other.
But do you think while our courts are working, do you honestly believe that our courts would be able to, at this point on the war on drugs, frankly, charge a former president or even a sitting senator or anyone in office?
It depends on the evidence because an investigation will have to be done first. All right, and if the evidence shows some complicity on the part of the president, then the appropriate charges will have to be filed in court. So let's leave it at that. It all depends on the evidence. What evidence